Hello and welcome to this video about simplifying life to reduce stress. This video came about because I've been reading a number of books and one in particular by Wayne Muller, and he came up with this really good quote. It says, "The busier we are, the more important we seem to ourselves and others." And this whole thing really seems to be pervading our culture, certainly where I live in the UK, and I guess Wayne lives in America. And it's the one thing, certainly when you seem to talk to people, it's like, I'm so busy. And it's just pervading our culture. And it really just made me realise that we've bought into this lie, because this isn't what we see in the Bible. In the Bible, we see Jesus taking times of rest. We see him taking time for prayer. We see him as a really unhurried person, and we are living our lives very, very differently from that. We've ended up being so busy that we've got no time to reflect on what's truly important. And here's what I think is happening. That much of the stress in our lives is because the lives we're living are not aligning with our values, beliefs, and priorities. And the question is, how do we get them back in alignment? Because I think if we do, that will massively reduce the stress in our lives. You know, this then comes back to some really deep questions that you may know the answer to, you may not know the answer to, about what legacy do you want to leave? What person are you becoming? We will only become the people we choose to be if we're living our lives with a sense of intentionality. So we're making choices daily, hourly, to become that person. If you haven't got time to stop and think about who you're becoming, you can have a year past, 5 years have passed, and you're just drifting along and you end up places you didn't choose to be. You suddenly wake up and you go, how did I get here? So that intentionality will only happen if you set aside time to reflect. If you set aside time to think about what in your life reflects the person you're wanting to become and helps you become that more, and what is standing in the way of that? What barriers do you need to remove? What parts of you do you need to work on or ask God to change? And maybe there's things that you need to ditch in your life that actually are things you've been doing a long time, but they don't add anything. They don't help you become the person you're wanting to become. But worse than that, they're actually stopping you from becoming the person that you choose to become. I heard this wonderful saying from a rabbi. He talked about doing things which pamper your soul. Isn't that a wonderful phrase? Pamper your soul. I really love that. And I think that's so helpful. And I think as a Christ follower, you sort of think, oh, that's a bit selfish. You shouldn't be thinking of me. But actually, it's right there in the Bible when it talks about loving others as you love yourself. And if we don't love ourselves and care for ourselves and manage our energy levels or whatever it is, then we don't have anything to give out to anybody else anyway. So we have to care for ourselves. So here are some things which pamper my soul. I love to worship, whether I'm in the car or in a church setting. I absolutely love to just get into worship and get lost in worship. I also love spending time with family and friends. I love planning that in to make sure that those things are sort of like in my diary, number one, before any of the other stuff that crowds in there. I love times when you get out in nature, whatever that might look like near you. And I love it when I eat well. I don't always eat well, but when I do eat well, I feel the benefit of it. And I also love those times when we feel connected to others, whether that's in a church setting or in a work setting or in a community setting. And one of the things I've started doing relatively recently is a digital detox. That's no social media, no internet, no computer. And I've really been feeling the benefit of that. So it's from sunset on a Saturday evening for me, and just for 12 hours through. And that's been really freeing, because instead of the sort of pressure of like what everybody else is doing and what you're going to share on social media, you've got none of that. And actually that's a really good time then just to have that peace and quiet. Your mind just quietens down and you're able just to quietly reflect about where you're at in life. And something I'm really learning to value is the idea of living life in the moment, or when you actually can, instead of living with the regrets of the past or the anxieties of the future, you just choose to focus on the moment. And sometimes, yes, that's a choice, because those thoughts will crowd in, but you can choose to live in the moment. And the more times I'm having like that, the more I'm really feeling a sense of well-being. And I think all those things that I mentioned earlier about the things that really refresh my soul, all of those are also things where I'm living in the moment of that moment. I'm not looking forward, back. I'm actually being present in the moment. And I think the more times we have like that, the more beneficial it is for our soul. So where can you start? I really think if we begin with the end in mind, think about what the priorities and values are for your life. Who is it you're choosing to become? What will you look like? What will your life look like? What steps can you take to get there? Even one small step at a time, over time, will really build up, and you'll find yourself looking back. You know, like when you climb a mountain and you don't feel you've got anywhere, but you look back and you think, wow, I've really come a long way. I think it's like that with those kind of small steps that you may not notice as you take each one. But when you look back, you think, whoa, I'm so different from the person I used to be. And also thinking about the idea of pampering your soul. What might that look like for you? What is it that really recharges and refreshes your soul? And how can you plan in those times in your life? And finally, how can you live more in the present moment? Because I think the more we live in the present moment, the easier it is to live in the present moment. And I think all this time we're spending on our phone, you're not living in the present moment, you're living somebody else's present moment, you're not living your own. So I think, how can you live your life in your present moment and live that intentionally? So that may not have been the video you were expecting, but I think that idea of bringing your life into alignment with your beliefs, values and priorities is so, so key. And I think when we begin with the end in mind and take small steps in those right direction, I genuinely believe that over time that will massively reduce our stress and vastly increase our sense of joy and fulfillment. I just want to say thanks so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please click like, subscribe and hit that bell icon below. There's more videos coming like this. There'll be more spoken word videos coming too. Been great spending time with you. Thanks so much for watching.